Hey everyone, so today I'm going to start a 4-part series of Revelations. So Argent Saga has been releasing just a couple cards each day, and I wanted to wait till we had at least 25 to review each time. So this is the first 25. Hope you enjoy. So our first card is Guiding Winds. It's a 1-cost spell with Instacast, and it reads, return target unit you control to its owner's hand, and if you do, draw 1 card. So really like this card. Green has been using Hurricane Shot to return cards to its hand. It's also been using Skyship Engineer to generate those tokens for things like Skyship Tree Command. And now they get another card, which is Guiding Winds, which allows them to replace itself, essentially, and trigger cards like Eaton, Righteous Outlaw, and things like that. This obviously pairs up best with things like Arbor Carbuncle or Sky Treehawk. So yeah, good addition to green. So next up, we've got Master Genso, which is a 2-cost unit with 500 power. And it's got an exhaust ability that reads, put target unit with cost 1 or less from your discard zone into play. Expel that unit when it leaves the field. It's a pretty interesting card. We have some decent 1-cost units, like Raging Shard Beast, for example. Azure Seer is a solid target. Failed Golem number 1, so this thing's got some decent targets already. Expelling the card after it leaves is mainly negative, but we've seen, or what we will see here out of this second set, is there is a color that revolves around expelling. So this might pair well with that. Moving on, we got White Rose Knight, which is a 2,000 power unit with 4 cost. And it has an arrive ability that says choose 1 for each knight unit you control up to 3. So if you have 3 knight units on your field, you can use all of these effects. And they are search your deck for a gear and add it to your hand, so any gear, that's good already. Equip target gear from your discard zone to this card, also very good. And then switch target knight unit to active. So this is a really good rare. 4 cost for 2,000 power isn't fantastic, but if you can summon this when you have at least 2 knights on the field, it's well worth it. So very cool addition for light, for sure. So next we've got Reckless Shard Beast, which is a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power, and it has an arrive ability that says you may destroy one of your face-down towers. If you do, this card gains quickness. So this card's very cool. The fact that you can destroy some of these new towers early with this card and get their effects, that was the problem, was you needed to play some kind of deck that was good in the middle to late game more so than the early game, because you weren't going to get the effects from the new towers, and this allows you to do that while also getting quickness. It does only have 1,000 power for a 2-cost unit, and it doesn't do anything unless you destroy a tower, so it's pretty niche, but it's pretty cool effect. It's very unique. There's no other cards like this, so interesting. So moving on, we've got Whelp Spark, which is a free card to play, and all it does is it deals 500 to a target unit. So right now, most units are above the 1,000 power, so I don't think this card's good. It's kind of cool that it's free. I think it might be it would have been better if it was an Instacast spell, but it's not, so right now it's pretty weak. I don't know, where you would use this. So moving on, we actually have our first Argent Rare, and something to note is it is not a legendary, so you can play 3 of these in your deck, so key thing to note there. But anyway, it's Phantasmal Gigant. He's got 5,000 power for 8 costs, so he's a big boy. He's got Destroyer, and he also has an effect that reads, this card costs 1 less to play for each different Phantasmal card in your discard zone. So, he's like Iskandar or things of that nature where you can reduce his cost to come out, so that's nice. And he has another effect that says, when this card attacks, deal X to target unit or face-up tower. X equals the number of different Phantasmal cards in your discard zone. So this is very nice. Being able to pick which target you deal the damage to, or a face-up tower. He could potentially destroy 3 towers in one attack. So that's pretty devastating. And seeing as how blue has plenty of ways to just discard cards with like Jamail and things like that, I see this card being very good. So next up, we've got Transmutation Circle, which is a 1-cost augment, which has a Offering 1 ability. You have to exhaust it to do that. So you expel a unit from your discard zone, and then you send the top card of your deck to the discard zone. So the only application I see this coming into play with is the new red cards, which are Blazewalkers, where they revolve around expelling. So being able to expel something, get its effect, while also thinning out your deck by setting the top card of your deck, it could come into play, something like that. But right now, other than that, it's pretty niche. I'm not so sure how much this card will be played. Next, we got Vabriel's Final Gift, which is a 2-cost spell that simply reads, search your deck for any card and add it to your hand. So this card's stupid, in my opinion. I have zero idea why this card exists. It pretty much allows you to splash green in anything. So you can play this in Sylphia and just overpowered cards and search for them. So you're one of Argent Rares from the first set that are all legendary and you can only play one. Well, now you got a way to search them. Yay. Yeah, I don't see why this card exists. But anyway, it's good, obviously. Moving on, we've got Silverstone Sentinel, which is a 3-cost unit with 2,000 power. And it reads, once per turn, when your opponent activates or triggers the ability of their champion or spirit, you may choose one. So you can either draw a card or you can expel a target card from your opponent's discard zone. So drawing a card is obviously very good. 3 costs for 2,000 power, solid. The one thing that I still need to check is if your opponent activates the ability of their champion or spirit, whether that means getting counters, like if Hoenna destroys a monster and it gets a counter, is that triggering its ability? I would say no. I think it's only whenever she creates tokens and things like that. So either way, it's still a decent card for a common for sure. But if he activates whenever Hoenna or monsters like that get, or like Jamail, get counters, he's even better. So moving on, we've got Mutation 2 Reproblum. Little play on words there. It's a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power. And it reads, when this card is targeted by a spell or ability, you may put into play 2 experiment unit tokens. So this card's super good. Right now, targeting it just and being able to create 2 tokens is nuts. So this plays very well into Liam. Liam discarding a gear and targeting this card will generate two tokens for you. And then next turn, you can pump some of them up with Liam's effect again to break towers. Yeah, this card's insane, and it's only a common, so this is definitely a solid Argent card to just be splashed in anything. So, yeah. So next up, we've got Animated Spellbook, which is a 1-cost unit with 500 power, and it has a Ruined ability that says add a spell that costs 1 or less from your deck to your hand. So it's decent scout. I think the best way to play this is something like green-blue. So this is a decent card to scout, and then pop it off with Iton to get its Ruined ability, add a 1-cost spell, maybe the one that we just saw at the beginning where you can bounce a card and draw it, and then also bring out a 2-cost unit. So that's one thing. Other than that, I mean, your opponent's really not going to kill this, so you're going to have to find a way to destroy it itself with your abilities. So moving on, we got Madame Phantasm, which is a 6-cost unit with 3,000 power, and her effect reads, this card costs 1 less to play for each witch unit you control. So Amateur Witch, which we got in expansion set 1, is a witch unit, and then Serena, which is another witch unit that just came out in expansion set 2. So I think those are the only 2 witches that we have currently. Madame Phantasm counts as one as well, so if she's on the field, you can play another one. But yeah, so you can reduce her cost that way. She also has an Arrive ability that says you may add 1 Phantasmal card from your deck or discard zone to your hand. So the Phantasmal Gigant that we reviewed earlier, which was the Argent Rare, you can actually search him with her. So that's pretty nuts. And then I think there's 1 or 2 other Phantasmal cards that have been spoiled, but we haven't gotten to them yet, so you can search any of those. She also has a Shard Drain ability where you Shard Drain 1, and you can expel her from your discard zone and search your deck for an Academy of Argos and then put it into play. So we haven't seen Academy of Argos spoiled yet, so verdict's still out on that. But the fact that this girl can search that Argent Rare is really nice. So, yeah, very good. Moving on, we got Liam, Brutal Tyrant, which is a 5-cost unit with 3,000 power. And he has an Arrive ability that says, if you've destroyed an opponent's tower or unit in battle this turn, you may equip target gear from your discard zone to this card. Also, you can sacrifice a knight unit that is equipped with a gear and deal X to target face-up tower. X equals the sacrificed unit's power. So this is pretty neat. Light is very aggro, or it has been. I don't know if that'll change with this set, but a couple things to mention here. Liam can be searched out. There's a rare card in the first set where you can banish a certain amount of gears and special summon a knight from your deck to the field based on how many gears you banished. So if you banished 5, you can bring this out. Also, just playing it from your hand after you attack and broke a tower or destroy a unit, you can then bring this out, equip a gear, and then sacrifice a knight unit that possibly broke a tower or destroyed a opponent's monster that turn, and then destroy a tower. So it's really nice that this guy can just destroy towers without even having to attack. So that's really cool. And he's another Argent Rare that does not have, that's not a legendary, so you can play multiples of them. So moving on, we've got Red Rose Knight, which is a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power. It also has the Guardian ability, and it has an effect that reads, when this card uses Guardian, you may add target gear from your discard zone to your hand. Also, while this card is equipped with a gear, units adjacent to this card gain 500 and Guardian. So this card is really good. I really like this card because you're adding back gears each turn this card uses Guardian. And Light has a bunch of augments that boost up the power of your units. So this card can easily become, a 2,500 Guardian that's adding back gears each turn. I think just off the top of my head, being able to, use Guardian with this and then chain Caliburn, I think it is, or Longinus, one of those deals 1,500 to a target unit, and then getting to add it back to your hand is awesome. So that's really cool. And then it makes all of your other units Guardian, and it gives them plus 500 whenever this is equipped. So yeah, really cool common. I really like this card. Next up, we've got Phantasmal Army. So this is another Phantasmal card that can be searched with the Witch that we just saw not too long ago. It's a 4-cost spell that says put into play illusion unit tokens, and they have 1,000 power, equal to the number of units your opponent controls. You can also Shard Drain 1, expel it, and then grab another copy from your deck to your hand. So that's pretty cool, being able to, if you have one, once you use it, you can search for another one, pretty much just spam out tokens. I don't know how good of a strategy that is. This card seems okay. It doesn't seem great, but it's pretty cool. Okay, moving on, we have Entreat the Blazewalkers. It's a 1-cost spell that says expel one Blazewalker unit from your deck, and then you may add a card with the same name from your deck to your hand. So this card's really good. Without even seeing any of the Blazewalkers, being able to search any Blazewalker unit in your deck for a cost of 1 is really good within itself. And then, because I've also cheated a little bit, I know that the Blazewalkers revolve around expelling themselves. So this plays perfectly into that strategy. So this is probably going to be an instant 3 of, if you're playing Blazewalkers. Moving on, we've got Obsidian Gargoyle, which is a 2-cost unit with 1,000 power. And it reads, when this card is sent from your deck to your discard zone, you may put it into play. So very simple. Whenever it's milled, you can special summon it from your discard zone if it's sent there, directly from the deck. So, blue dark is really nice. You can manipulate the top of your deck with Mr. Kins and Azure Seer, and then mill it with their special shard to bring it out. So that's kind of nice. And then yeah, so you get a free 1,000 power unit. So moving on is Ellis the Sky Huntress. We already went through this with our expansion set 2 review, so go check that out. Good card though. Okay, so now we're going to look at our first Blazewalker super rare, which is Blazewalker Scout Leah. It's a 2-cost unit with 1,500 power, so very good power for a 2-cost. Her effect reads, when this card is expelled, you may shuffle 3 of your other expelled fire units into your deck. If you do, draw 1 card. Expel 1 unit from your hand. Expel this card until the start of your next draw phase. So this card is really good, especially for this archetype, which I haven't even seen a whole lot of cards, but just knowing that it's going to revolve around expelling, being able to pretty much replenish your units and their effects by shuffling them back into the deck and then drawing 1 card is really good within itself. And then you can also trigger her, so you can essentially attack with her, and then if your opponent tries to get rid of her, you can just expel a unit from your hand to expel it at the start of the next phase to dodge that attack and to dodge it from being destroyed. So this card's really good. Next, we have Slumbering Drake, which is a 2-cost unit with 2,000 power, so he's beefy, but he does come with a drawback. It says this card cannot attack unless you reveal 2 dragon units from your hand. So I don't know if you'd play this, revealing dragons from your hand. Anytime you give your opponent information isn't great. I never like cards like that, but it's strong for 2 cost. Next, we have Secrets Revealed, which is a 1-cost spell that says look at the top 3 cards of either player's deck and put them back in any order. Don't like this card. You already have cards like Mr. Kins and Azure Seer, which have, dual purpose. Something like this, not very great. Maybe you can use it in a cheese deck or something like that, where you're trying to bring out the big dragon card that costs 10, or you can cast it for free if you played 5 spells that turn. So something like that, maybe. Moving on, we got Neutral Evil, which is 2-cost spell that reads, each player sacrifices a unit they control. So this card's very good. It's if you don't have a unit and your opponent does, you can still play this. So it's not a cost to sacrifice a unit. So it's spot removal, which is nice. Obviously, it's not as good if your opponent has more than 1 unit, because then they get to decide. But you can also choose your own units, to get ruined if they have ruined abilities, like Rowena. I know Rowena from the first set, a lot of people didn't play her because even though the Phoenix is extremely good, there was not a whole lot of ways to, get her destroyed. So this plays into, strategies like that. Cool card. Moving on, we have Bone Scavenger, which is a 1-cost unit with 1,000 power. It has an arrive ability that reads expel target unit from a discard zone. You can also pay 1, expel target unit from a discard zone, and if you do, place a 500 counter on this card. So the counters do not go away, they stack, and you can activate that effect as often as you can. So if you've got 6 shards up, you can pay 6 times, give it 6 500 counters, and expel 6 units from someone's grave. This card's super good. We've seen a couple good Argent cards already, just in the common form. So yeah, props to this card, props to the R&D team for giving us, some more Argent cards, so it's not just themed. I see this card being played a lot. Next is Ketsu the Living Armor, which is a 1-cost gear. This is actually one of the, I think it's a sneak peek promo, so if you go to the sneak peek, you can get one of these. You equip it to a target unit. Any damage it would take is reduced by 500. So that's okay. And then when one of your light units attack, you may equip this card from your discard zone. So I think that effect is probably the better effect, just because we've seen already with that Rose Knight unit that it seems like light units are going to need gears equipped to activate additional effects. So this could come into play because of that. And our last card for today is Ariana, Hope of Argos, which is a 3-cost unit with 1,500 power. It has the Brawler ability, which is nice. And then when it's ruined, you can discard a card from your hand, and if you do, you search your deck for an eaten unit and add it to your hand. So The fact that you can add Eaton Righteous Outlaw to your hand whenever this is destroyed is really good within itself. The Brawler ability is a very good effect. It's a very good ability. I really like this card. 3 cost for 1,500 isn't fantastic, but all of the other things that she comes with, really good. Well, there you have it, guys. This is part 1 of my Revelations set analysis. I'm hoping to have the next video out next week, part 2 on the next 25 cards. So stay tuned for that. Like, comment, and subscribe. Zeppelin out.